Back to this Women Wednesday edition of Liquid Lunch. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming here as we do every day, Monday to Friday, noon to 2 Eastern, from the Newsmax headquarters studios in Midtown Manhattan. Downtown Manhattan at the New York Stock Exchange, the Dow is still up significantly from this morning, up 270. Was meandering through the day yesterday and then had a big sell-off at the end. Down about $1.50, but it's got all that back and more today. And Bitcoin continues to be under siege today, although making a little bit of a recovery, down about $600. This is the segment every day where we bring on the real guests who know where the rubber meets the road, a Republican and a Democrat, and we mix it up. Oh, there's no ice in my shake-up. We'll get to that in a bit, but now on the right, joining me today again, she's been on the show before, Teisha Powell. She's an author, she's a conservative commentator, and she's a well-known attorney. And on the left, giving us the perspective, is Laura Fink, the CEO and founder of Rebel Communications. Laura, thanks for Skyping in with us. Teisha, thanks for joining us on set. And ladies, there is a lot going on today in the news. I'd like to get both your perspectives to start. A couple of weeks ago, after the mass shootings, the president came out and spoke about that there was a political appetite for deeper background checks. And it seems like now he got some phone calls from the NRA or something, and he's backtracking. Laura, what do you think about this?
Well, it's no surprise. The president has backtracked on background checks before, after receiving a phone call from the NRA. He is backing away from supporting the Parkland survivors and the families that we have seen in both Texas and in California. This is something that after he came into office in 2017, he actually repealed restrictions on background checks, which is something 90% of Americans support, Republican, Democrat, Independent, 90% of Americans support background checks, universal background checks. So this is something the American people want.
Teisha, you have a little bit of different perspective on that.
Yes, Laura, thanks so much for coming on. First of all, President Trump is saying that he wants more, but we're looking at mental illness, because we think that's the problem, Laura. It's not background check. We're in America. We have the toughest background law. We don't need to make it any tougher, okay? If you're first, you're first. You can't be any more first. So this background check is no longer working. Maybe we need to start getting the guns out of people's hands who are crazy, because I don't think that guns kill people. I think crazy people that get guns kill people. So I think it's time the Democrats get off this gun thing and start looking at mental illness.
Teisha, expanded background checks. There's over 300 million guns on the street already. I understand that. But maybe in the expanded background checks, the mental illness is something that we should be looking at.
So, John,
is that a compromise?
So we got to figure out, when we write these polls, this is the first thing, it's not written to say, does mental illness? It writes to say background checks. Of course, people are going to say yes. But let's try to poll and put, like, should people with mental illness get more tougher background check? Maybe that's what we need. Because I read the Washington Post before I came on here, Laura, and it's clear that President Trump is for background check, but he's looking for mental illness. And all the Democrats running, Biden, Warren, Sanders, Harris, they've been in the Senate for years now. They've done nothing. Why do they want to do something now when we're up for re-election? Why are they caring now?
Laura, I tend to agree with you that there's definitely a national appetite for more background checks. But is there some practical middle ground you could think of that maybe these people can come together for the good of humanity?
Well, there is a practical middle ground, and it's what 90% of the American people want, and that's universal background checks. That means we close the gun show loophole, where you don't have to have a background check if you go buy a gun at a gun show, where you close the mental illness loophole that Trump opened wide. One of the first things that he did in 2017, opened wide that loophole for people that have been diagnosed with mental illness. But let's also be clear, this is not a mental illness problem. These are not diagnosable conditions. This is a gun problem. These are people that have a predisposition toward violence, but a lot of them aren't technically mentally ill. So that's not really going to do anything. So I think President Trump is bowing to the pressure of the NRA and is doing what he has done repeatedly, which is to talk big and do little.
So the president, he's in a text and tweet war with the squad. And I thought it was a little ticky-tacky of him and Netanyahu to try to block Rashida Tlaib and others from coming into Israel, through Israel, to visit the grandmother. But yesterday he's taken aim at all Jewish Democrats in America. Take a look at this clip.
Where has the Democratic Party gone? Where have they gone where they're defending these two people over the state of Israel? And I think any Jewish people that vote for a Democrat, I think it shows either a total lack of knowledge or great disloyalty.
Hey, Laura, final thoughts on Trump taking aim at the entire Jewish Democrat constituency. What do you think?
Well, the Jewish American vote is squarely with Democrats and is squarely anti-Trump. They disapprove at 57% of American-Israel relations under Trump. And I also think there's a disapproval of his policies more broadly. The Jewish folks, the Jewish religion has something called tikkun olam. And tikkun olam means repair the world. And it is a Jewish form of social justice that many American Jews subscribe to. And that means we don't separate families at the border. It means we take care of our brothers and sisters that have less.
Okay, but Laura, we also know.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to finish. I'll let you talk.
I know, but I do need to educate people as well.
It simply means that the American.
Teisha, let me give you the last word. We're in our final minute, and
Laura, I think
it's a good spirited debate, of course.
It's very spiritual. I think it's important that we understand that Israel is important to President Trump, and President Trump is probably the first president who moved the embassy to Jerusalem. And this was something that Obama had promised and Clinton had promised, and they didn't do anything. So I think this is a big win for the Jewish population. And I think this is what President Trump was saying, Laura. I think that everybody needs to understand. He's just saying, hello, I moved the embassy.
Well, maybe moving the embassy and him tagging the squad as the identity of the Democratic Party may bring some more Jewish voters. We'll bring you, we'll keep you up to speed on all that stuff and more. I want to thank Teisha Powell and Laura Fink for joining us today to mix it up. We're going to take a quick break.